We're about to start a conversation on water. Before we start, this is what I want you to do. Please make sure that you send your views in on this very subject about the fallout from that very research by the CSIR that seemed to indicate that the tap water that I drink very often apparently has some traits of toxins which could be causative agents for cancer. Not that I have one, I don't, but it's just that it's a cause for worry if there is.
And when I saw this, particularly on the front page of the Daily Graphic yesterday, you know,
it was on the front page.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, you have
this is it. I mean, and this is like the banner headline. It was very shocking, and I don't know, because this is CSIR. That's a research institute. They have no point in coming out with something that is not true. So we thought, why don't we get the water company in the studio this morning? Let them take us through what the water that most of you drink, because me, I don't have tap water flowing through.
She doesn't drink
the
tap
processes
water.
that it goes through.
That's all she wants to say. She doesn't drink tap water.
Not because I am too big, but only because they don't give me the water. So I have no choice. I don't even know where the people who bring the water, where they go and get the water from. That's another conversation. But let's introduce our guest, Roland.
And we have Stanley Mate. He's the head of communications, boss for communications, Ghana Water Company. Thanks for joining me, Stanley.
Thank you very much.
It's been a while. We met over the weekend.
Yeah.
And during the tete-a-tete, he was defending things about how water is not flowing too well, or perhaps difficulties in access to supply, and particularly the subject of the rates that we have to pay, or the tariffs, as we say.
But
and then on Monday, we just came, apparently they had this, CSR had this in the bag, we didn't know. I could have asked him on the weekend.
I think I heard you with Kwabena Chenchenhene on News Desk yesterday. You're strongly denying this. You insisted that this was a research done way back, even though the CSIR also insists that this has been an ongoing research, and indeed, what they put out is something that they did last year. So where do you stand? I mean, you've slept over it? I mean, any new thinking this morning?
Yeah, thank you very much, my lovely colleagues. And I'm happy to be here too. And yes, I had a good time over the weekend.
Yeah, we all did.
Yeah, and anywhere I go, people meeting and it's just about water.
We're always accosting.
Yeah, you know. But it's good. I mean,
Stanley Water Mate.
Everywhere we are, I think it's good that we educate ourselves so that we'll do the right things. All in the name of building Mother Ghana. Yeah, yesterday, seeing this thing, I mean, screaming, alarming, maybe damning headline, I mean, I felt very sad, especially coming from a recognized and a well-known and respected institution like CSIR. I mean, everybody will believe what they have done, but I think there are a lot of flaws in what they did, especially when this research is almost outdated. Okay, now they started this research in 2005. Did the first part of it, and let me also state that it's supposed to be the thesis or a PhD work by one of their consultants. So it's not like a research that was done to actually help the general public, but just to help an individual obtain a PhD degree.
But okay, what difference does that make if that piece of work?
Yes, and I'll get there, because even after the research, she solved it. Okay, so if it was actually meant for Ghanaians and for the safety of Ghanaians, it should have gone through the ethical processes so that we will actually benefit. As Ghanaians, we will actually benefit, because we actually pay for the research that they do via taxes. So the expectation is that they will do the right things, and especially when it comes to ethics, we will follow the ethical procedures, so that at least as Ghanaians we all will benefit and appreciate what they've done. But they didn't do so, and started this in 2005, 2008, and I think somewhere 2011. And we open our doors for you to pick samples from a security zone, our treatment area, okay, and you finish the research, you don't even offer us a copy. You don't even sit with us to discuss the findings. And then 8 years on, you just put out the findings.
So at this point, when you were opening your doors for them to come and take the samples, you thought it was an individual doing his academic work?
As an institution, not necessarily as an academic work, but as an institution like Ghana Water Company Limited, we open our doors, especially to research, because we avail ourselves with every technology that comes in, and all in the bid to continually improve on the quality of water that we produce for our people. So if there's a researcher who wants to do research into the raw water that we abstract for production, it is good news. So you come up with some findings, and then maybe some recommendations were set together, and then we see how best we can improve on the quality of water that we produce for our people. But our lady researcher, respected scientist, didn't do that, and I really think that it's unethical for her to have done this. And then 8 years on, you release the findings and to seem as current, and then you generalize the whole thing as if tap water throughout Ghana contains toxins. It's absolutely wrong and unfair.
Mr. Martin, let's clear at least some two things. So you didn't expect this finding to be made public, correct?
That wasn't our expectation, but our expectation was that at least make us aware, the agency who gave you the opportunity to do the research within our zone, at least give us a copy, sit with us, let us have that discussion, okay, and then we'll see the way forward.
Before Roland comes in, I take it that you also saw this findings the first time yesterday, just as we all did in the Daily Graphic.
No, I think about 3 weeks ago, they had a program. Normally what the CSIR does is that when they have these research findings, they are research institutions, so they keep doing these researches. And then anytime it's done, I think once in a year they have a workshop where they invite like stakeholders to come around to discuss or to see or to have a look or have a feel of the findings. So on the sidelines of the one that was done in April this year, the boss for Water Research Institute and the CSIR on the sidelines spoke about the fact that water from Wija contains toxins. And if you haven't made the findings known, why do you put such an alarming information out? Okay, it's even a national security threat, you know. I mean, generalizing the whole thing to make it seem as if water that flows through taps in Ghana contains toxins. I mean, it's absolutely wrong, very, very wrong and unfair.
Yesterday, I heard you on various platforms try to respond to this, and of course in the story also there's your response to it. Following that, I have a couple of friends in your company as well. They say generally, as a company, you're worried about the state of raw water, where you get the sources of water. Are you worried about that?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
And that is why we even appreciate what she's done. Okay. But it is no news.
I mean, if you're worried about the state of raw water, it is possible there's a certain hunch that you have, feeling that the state of raw water is such that it is so much polluted, and even to the extent that you have to spend a lot more resources in trying to purify them.
But Roland, you know that this is no news, because this is what we've been talking about for a very long time.
That's why it's in the research, Mr. Sandy.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that this is what we've been talking about every time, so it's a cause for worry. And if it's not a bother to us, we wouldn't be spending a lot of money in improving on the quality of the raw water. Okay, so we've done a lot of work in that area. I mean, seeing the water with yourself, even an illiterate with a naked eye could just say that there's algae in the raw water. Okay, so what if professionals like us, experts like us, who've been in the water treatment business over a long time, cannot see, okay, or cannot identify and to find a solution to it, knowing the repercussions of this thing, the algae toxins in our water, then what are we doing? You understand?
What have you done so far, especially when you know yourself that algae or alga or however they are finding themselves or itself in water, raw water that you use, could be the source of perhaps if not treated well, some sort of diseases for the general consumption population?
In your statement, you said if not treated well, and that is where the problem is. Now, the water that we treat are supposed to meet a certain standard. Okay, and now when we talk about standards, it also does not mean that it is pure and 100% perfect. When we talk about standards, it means there could still be some substances in there, but the levels may not be harmful to the human body. Some of them are even, I would say, nutrients for us as humans. You understand? So there should be some level, but it shouldn't exceed that level, and that is what we call it standards. The moment it goes above that level, then it means it's harmful to the body, and that water cannot be sent for the general public into the system for the general public to consume. You understand? So we go through the processes, and believe you me, the processes are stringent. Even the raw water that we abstract on regular basis, we test for its quality, because every now and then there are new pollutants. So if anything comes up anew, it means that we need to find a solution to curb it. You understand? So if we don't do that regular analysis, we wouldn't know. But because of that, we do the regular analysis. Now, when we abstract the water for production, it goes through stringent processes. And at every stage of the process, we do a test every hour. On hourly basis, at every stage, we test the quality of the water.
Did you take the person doing the research through all these processes? And so the person doing the research is very much conversant with the processes that you say you employ.
She didn't go through all these things.
Okay, so you're saying that a research is half-baked?
I wish I could even get a more inferior word. You understand? Because if she had this thing given, if she had sat with us for us to do this discussion, or if she had sought our support, input in her research, all these things would have been up. But she just picked the samples and went out of the country to go and do the test. Even for her, I can't even tell how she preserved the water that she took away. Okay, if she preserved it well, fine. But assuming she didn't preserve it well, it means some reaction will still be going on in the raw water, and so this thing, its state will not be as its original state. So, for instance, if you keep water and you don't store it well, after 3 weeks or 4 weeks before you do your research, you don't expect that it will have the same quality. And all these things, I don't know how she went about it, and all these things goes against her research. You understand? So I was talking about the processes. So at every stage and on an hourly basis, we do a test analysis. Now, if we realize that there's any anomaly at any point in time, we stop the entire testing process, and we try to identify the cause, find a solution to it before we continue the processes.
How often does this happen?
Especially when we find new toxins or new pollutants, or like pollutants.
So how often would you say you find new pollutants?
Most of them are seasonal. The rainy season, the quality of the raw water is different from the dry season. Okay, so there's this occurrence. But we don't take these things for granted, because we are supposed to be documenting all these things. And the Ghana Standards Authority is so strict on these things. They do the test themselves. We also do test and send results to them and all that. If you fail, you are sanctioned. You understand? So we don't joke with some of these things.
So you say this whole research that's been put out there, this whole report that's making headlines, is a national security threat.
Yes, it is.
Are you taking the CSIR on, and how?
We are both governmental agencies. Okay, so I don't think we'll expend our time in fighting this. Well, the only thing that we want to do is to assure the general public the water that flows through their taps is safe.
But if somebody
good and
says
potable.
something this serious about you and it's not true, You should sue them or something.
We'll be suing our brother. I mean, we don't want
No,
to
but
sue
you see,
your
that's the problem. Because both of you are a government institution, that's why some of us would seriously not want to doubt the report, because what do they seek to gain by tarnishing your image?
So we'll also come out with our processes, and then we'll try to debunk what they've done.
So what, you're taking the press round some of the places?
We'll do that before the week ends.
Really?
But you see, if you test your water just before you come in, if you test with your processes and somebody comes to take the sample and go and test elsewhere, could it be that the equipment that you are probably using to test is not on points?
Yes, it's possible. Okay, but then I'll tell you something. Now, because of the algae, or let me start from the point where throughout the country we have 86 systems. Okay, and we abstract water from various sources. Now, all our river bodies have different components or different pollutants and different levels of pollution. Okay, so we treat the water according to the quality of the raw water. You understand? So we treat water differently and all our treatment plants. You understand? Now, in Wager, because the Densu has algae, okay, the treatment processes is different. But in her research, she just used the conventional way of water treatment, the use of alum, chlorine, and I mean, alum and chlorine are just normal in every water treatment. They're basic. You understand? But depending on the pollutants in the raw water, there are other chemicals and other technologies that we use in getting the water to the quality for consumption. And that is what they failed to do in this
in the research.
And yesterday on Joy FM, she confirmed, because I told them, Kojo Youngson asked me how we get the algae toxins out of the water. And I told him that we use activated carbon in adsorbing the algae and the toxins. Okay, and she confirmed that yes, activated carbon is used for algae and algae toxins, and even for odor. And it is the algae toxins that produce the odor in the water. Okay, so if we are using the activated carbon for the odor, automatically we'll be getting rid of what? The toxins. But we ourselves, as experts, are very much aware of the algae content of the raw water. So why would we do without it? Okay, so that is what the research failed to do. You understand? And so, and at every stage of the process, there's a different kind of chemical that we use to get the water to get to its standards, the best standards for consumption. Because if you don't meet the standards, we can't pump out the water for consumption. No. And the general public should know that those of us who treat the water are the first to consume the water, because
do you drink the raw tap water?
I drink directly.
You don't have any sachet bottled water at home that you drink?
If you see me drinking bottled water or sachet water, it's because of the packaging, and it will be out of my home. If I'm in town and I want to drink water, I'll buy bottled water or sachet water from the vendor on the street just to consume. It doesn't mean that is better than tap water, but it's just because of the packaging. And most people consume those products just because of its packaging. Now, if you want to offer me water here, I don't think you're going to bring a glass with tap water to serve me. You bring bottled water just because of its packaging. You understand?
Could it be, sorry Roland, could it be that what you drink is absolutely safe because it's in your compound? You get to treat it and drink it. But once it runs runs through the distribution processes, maybe it gets contaminated somewhere.
It is possible, but that is different from the research. The research is talking about the water that leaves our treatment plant. You understand? If we have contaminants or impurities in our tap water, it is not because of the algae in the raw water.
It's from the distribution point.
It's from the distribution district.
So what would you say to Roland drinks straight from the tap? Is
I
it
safe?
I do myself.
Is it safe?
I drink straight from the tap.
It's safe because
am I safe?
You are very safe. You're looking nice.
Because in the research, I have to just hold you. You're my very good friend. You know,
am I not healthy?
It's my schoolmate. It's my schoolmate. So let me just drill him a little. So if you look at the water in the Wager Dam, for instance, gradually the water is increasing in blue-green algae, but also goes on to state how that is very bad, dangerous to kidney, liver, and the nervous system, and also increasing heart problems. So no wonder we have heart problems. Let me just generalize it.
No,
I think I'm...
No, it is wrong. This is talking about the raw water, the untreated water. And we don't consume untreated water. We don't pump untreated water to the people. So the untreated water, okay, contains the blue algae, or the blue-green algae, okay? But when it goes through the processes, okay, all those things all those substances are absorbed. Okay.
We do understand the difficult state in which you find yourself, and you're doing your work. You're a PR person, and you have to make sure that
it's a wrong notion. We are speaking in facts. It's not about PR. Okay. You are also a trained PR person, and you know that facts are very necessary. Okay. Now, I can't be lying to the entire.
Nobody's saying you're lying. It's somebody's research, and which has had a proper commentary by the head of that very institution, knowing so well that your institution has had the pedigree and the know-how to be able to do what is right. And so they've publicly come out with this very statement, try to defend it as much as possible. And so you don't think that we have to also take a hook, like, and sinker and say there's some level of truth in what they are saying?
How are they defending?
It's the concern, Mr. Salimate, is more about how this has some repercussions on the health of the ordinary consumer like you and myself.
Exactly. And this is just creating unnecessary fear and panic in the system, because water forms part of everything that we do. Okay, so if it contains poisonous toxins, it becomes a matter of worry. And that is why we are also very much concerned. Other than that, we would have just ignored this thing. Okay,
Mr. Martin, we went to the street. We're trying to ask the ordinary Ghanaian, what did they make of the research, and what's their own comments on the subject?
CSIR has called for the review of the country's water purification system, revealing that the current system fails to remove toxins produced by algae. I'm in town today, and I'm going to find out from people what they use their pipe-borne water for.
Yeah, I do use pipe-borne water.
Okay. What do you use it for?
No, I use it for bathing and then washing of utensils and all that.
Are you aware of the new toxin?
Yeah, I heard it in the news this morning.
Are you scared?
Yeah, I'm scared. It's very dangerous, you know. If it is true that what they are saying on the media is true, then it means Ghana Water have to take action to do something about it. Yeah.
I use my pipe-borne water to drink, to do my everything in general.
So do you boil it or purify the water before using?
Yes, of course. I boil it before drinking or using it for anything because of what they have said or what they have heard before.
So yeah. Are you aware?
Because of that, that is why I always boil my boiling water before using, so that it will protect me and my family. Yeah.
The pipe-borne water, do you boil it or do you purify it before using?
Not purify, boil, because I use it for food, so I'm boiling in effect, not necessarily, I don't boil before using, but whilst using I'm boiling because I'm cooking. And for drinking, I normally don't drink pipe-borne water. We normally get water, bottled water.
Or sachet water?
Not sachet, bottled. My dad normally gets bottled water for the house, so we don't normally take pipe-borne water.
So what do you think is the best thing to be done now?
Well, right now we have a lot of, what do you call it? These bottles, I don't know the exact names, but we have these bottles where you can actually see through the water. I don't know whether algae, I'm thinking algae can be taken through those. There's these flags where the water can be sieved. So I think that would be better if you have to take pipe-borne water, because those bottles are not too expensive. Those flags are not too expensive. So, yeah.
So do you use pipe-borne water?
Yes.
What do you use it for?
I use normally for washing and cooking. The cooking, it will going to be boiling itself on the fire. So I don't cook it before, I don't boil it before I cook.
So you view that the current system fails to remove harmful toxins produced by algae in fresh water sources. Are you scared?
Yes, I have to be scared, because water is life, as I said. And if something life is contaminated, that means it's going to cause a lot of havoc in the system. Yeah.
So what do you think should be done?
The concerned members must be very fast and retrieve every sickness or any bacteria that may cause havoc. They have to treat it and give us a purified water to drink so that we can maintain our health.
For washing, we drink some too. And
Do you purify, like do you boil it or you purify it before drinking?
actually, it's already boiled. It's in a poly tank. It's already filtered. So, or maybe they wouldn't say they will leave it like that. Maybe they will do something about it.
And what do you think is the best thing to do?
I think maybe putting in chlorine would do. Yeah.
That also introduces us to, you know, when I buy you know, when they bring the water from outside, somebody advised that I put the tablets.
Okay, I've got some.
Okay, is that safe?
Yes, it is, but you should be careful of the quantities that you put in the water, because it should go with a certain volume of water.
Oh,
so because if, for instance, it's a treated water, it means the levels are okay. So if you introduce more chemical, then it means you go above the levels, which may be rather harmful to you.
Oh, wow.
So you should rather be careful as to how you use it. If you're not sure of the source, you can just put in.
You bought the tablets already.
Then you need to manage.
Ask her whether she's bought it already.
Yeah, I'm sure she has.
Well, but Eric from Aplau says Stanley will only speak to convince you. I believe as CSIR, let us take this seriously because Ghanaians take things for granted.
Okay, Mama, let me also say this, that this research was done on one treatment plant. We have 86 systems in the country. So how do you use one to generalize for the whole 86 systems? That is very wrong.
But Guja is the champion place. If the champion place has problems.
Besides, you abstract from different sources. And every river body has its own pollutants or contaminants in them. You understand? So you can't generalize. It is wrong for you to generalize for all distant systems.
Okay.
No,
Francis from Pando says something that is interesting. I'm shocked until now most Ghanaians are not aware of the fact that water running through their taps isn't safe for consumption. The quality of water these people produce is below standard.
It's wrong.
Toxins, impurities, using of bad or expired chemicals and treatments. But Francis, what kind of evidence do you have? I'm not going to just rubbish what you've said, but give me more.
Mama B, I'm sure you've
This
lived
is what
in
people
the.
think.
But I'm sure you've lived in the UK before.
No, I haven't.
But you have been there. You have been in most European countries. Okay, Roland, you have.
Your point is what?
My point is, compare the water there and the water that flows through our taps here. And anybody who has had this experience should tell us. Anyway, I've had a privilege of visiting those countries, and I'm able to tell that the water that we produce here is better, or of a better quality than what is there. Okay, and they all attest to that fact. Okay, now I'll also tell you this: along the West African coast, most ships, okay, will prefer to dock in Ghana to fill their receptacles because of the quality of water that we produce in Ghana.
They told you that?
Well, yes, they do all the time. And
maybe they get it directly from your
for instance, in Takrady and then in Tema. And for instance, the water that we serve the Tema Harbour is pumped from Bong, okay, through the same pipeline.
I know that I drink good water because I live close to Tema, so shall be me show there. Oh, but Bong water.
It's the water produced by Ghana water.
But if toxins they actually let us know.
Yes.
So that
no, but you know, I also consume the thing. So if it is not the best, I wouldn't consume it. You understand? If it's not the best, I wouldn't.
Stephen from home says, we have to know that the temperature in Ghana is different from the Western world, so there can be a change. The company that's saying that over so many years now that they're out with these, even the bottled water, who said that one too is safe? Do we know where they pump their water from?
They all use our water.
Is asking
they all use our water.
Well, so we shouldn't be worried about this. Essentially, that's what you're saying.
Not at all. Because the toxins that they're talking about, okay, we have a mechanism in absorbing it. Okay, so then...
You said what? High carbonated what? What did you say?
Activated carbon.
Activated carbon.
Yes.
Just before we go on this,
you know one funny thing yesterday? Please, you know one funny thing yesterday? She was trying to educate me who's been in the water business for a very long time how activated carbon could be used, which means that she didn't even check our treatment processes before coming out with this.
And the education
You know,
she was
we
asking me.
were not
education-
privy to that
Yes, she was
conversation.
saying-
so
and the
that will
education
be
she gave
hard.
you was wrong?
Very wrong. She confirmed what I was saying, that activated carbon is used in this thing, absorbing
So since
these
we were not
toxins.
privy to that conversation,
Okay, so
let
let
me
me
read what
give you
Godfrey
details.
from Techiman, you can use that to wrap up. Godfrey says, what were CSIR recommendations after the detections? And is Mr. Marty and his institution ready to confirm or otherwise by same criterion? I'm sure the CSIR must have told you a few things. What have they told you?
We've all been reading from the newspapers because they refused to give us a copy of their findings.
research?
Yes.
Oh,
We have.
Yes, they refused.
You
And
asked
Even when they
We
approach
requested
you
for it.
for your response for the story.
No, it was this thing,
The graphic.
the lady who did the story who called me.
Okay.
And even in our conversation, we didn't want to respond to it. So we're just having a chat. I didn't know she was even going to put these things out. But there were facts that I told her. So if it's out, there's no problem about that.
So then you need to have a copy of the research. When are you going to apply to formally have a copy of the research? Because you still, for after years.
I don't
How
think-
many years? Since
I don't
2010?
I don't think we need it
Why-
because we do regular analysis of all the raw water that we abstract for production. So we are also aware of these findings.
Stanley,
okay.
you do your job well. So I know.
we have to go, but let me just wrap up with your messages. That's why you send them. Nelson in Koforidia says, water flowing through our pipes is safe for drinking because always there's that we call residual chlorine, which takes care of any unforeseen materials.
And let me explain.
We don't know the
that.
technical things.
Let me explain
Mr.
that.
Mate, we have to end
Now,
it.
when we pump the water into town, we have a quality assurance department that sample the water within our communities on daily basis. Now, when they pick the sample, they do analysis. If there's a disparity between what is on the ground and what's on the treatment plant, we isolate the area and we find out what the problem is. Okay, so we identify it and then we rectify it. Now, the same quality assurance department also does this thing, post-chlorination. And at advantage points within our communities, we introduce more chemical to take care of any contaminants that may have seeped into the line along this. So
thank you, Mr. Mate.
go through
If this is true, we will begin to see it sometime soon. You never know. So we'll end the conversation here.
I was even thinking, if the water is not good, so what should I go and drink? Because even if I go and buy bottled water, it's still Ghana water. I go and buy sachet water.
I think essentially what they're, well, if there are things for you to take a look at, just don't run it.
Even if I go and buy soda.
I think you should work on it.
If I buy soda.
That's it for our conversation. We'll be
Ghana
back
water.
with more right here on the AM show.